Have you ever used an app that works perfectly with, say, 10 items, but the second you load 1,000 items, it just starts to lag and crash? Well, the exact same thing happens to coding channels. Some just absolutely explode in popularity, while others completely lag out and struggle to get a single comment. It's not just about knowing how to code, it's about knowing how to actually teach. Okay, let's dive into this, because today we are breaking down the ultimate playbook for creating coding tutorials. We're going to look at how to move your students from just making code work to actually making code professional.
Think of this as our masterclass syllabus. We're going to cover 1. Why tutorials fail, 2. Teaching best practices, 3. The perfect video setup, 4. Recording without editing, and 5. The power of projects.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, Why Coding Tutorials Fail. The gap between watching and understanding. So here is a question for you. Why do half of your students grasp a concept immediately while the rest feel totally, hopelessly lost? Honestly, there's literally nothing more frustrating than spending grueling hours building a tutorial only to check the comments and see a wall of confusion. A lot of the time, this happens because we're relying on one-size-fits-all lectures, or we're just moving way too fast through the complex stuff without grounding it in reality. And when your lessons lack clear, real-world application, your students' motivation is going to absolutely plummet.
This is exactly why we need to rethink how people learn. Passive learning, just kicking back and watching a tutorial, it creates this false sense of understanding. It feels like you're absorbing it, but the knowledge just doesn't stick. Active learning, though, that means project-based problem solving, which builds real, lasting muscle memory. So the crucial point is, you can't learn to swim just by reading a book about swimming, and you definitely can't learn to code just by watching someone type on a screen. Your students have to get their hands dirty to make that leap from writing code that barely works to writing professional, truly scalable software.
Moving right along to Section 2, Teaching Best Practices. Transforming theory into practical skills.
Now, take a look at this. It's a dense page of handwritten notes covering everything from computer vision to embedded systems. And this brilliantly illustrates what cognitive overload looks like to a total beginner. Dense walls of theory are just completely overwhelming. No one learns this way. Our actual job as educators is to take this kind of raw, intimidating information and translate it into bite-sized visual logic. You simply can't present everything all at once. You've got to break it down.
So how exactly do we do that? Well, we implement the LogicLadder philosophy. First, you have to use visceral, real-world analogies. Let's take big O notation as an example. Instead of just throwing math at them, ask, why does your app lag with 1,000 items? Then explain O of n linear time like downloading a file over the internet. Twice the data means twice the time. Contrast that with O of 1 constant time. Tell them it's like putting that same data on a hard drive and paying a pizza delivery guy to drive it to your friend. It doesn't matter if the drive holds 1 megabyte or 10 terabytes, the drive takes 20 minutes regardless. Then break down those rungs of efficiency step by step. Constant time, linear time, and the dreaded nested loop trap, which is O of n squared. Finally, always promote a growth mindset. Normalize confusion. Teach them about the premature optimization mistake. Let them know that sometimes good enough is actually better than perfect, and that balancing efficiency with delivery speed is the mark of a true developer.
Okay, let's get into the technical side. Section 3, the perfect video setup. Optimizing your screen for maximum clarity.
Creating a totally distraction-free environment is absolutely critical, and it really just takes 3 easy steps. Step 1. Clear your desktop and OS. Hide those desktop icons, silence your notifications, and just use a plain, solid background. Step 2. Clean your browser. Hide the bookmarks bar, get rid of those unnecessary extensions, and crank up that zoom. Step 3. Clean your code editor. You want to use a high-contrast theme so the text really pops. Oh, and here is a massive pro tip. Disable your blinking cursor. Seriously, a non-blinking cursor means that if you ever have to make a cut in your video, there won't be some weird, jumpy visual glitch. It literally makes your cuts completely seamless.
Now you might be wondering, why do we care so much about visual clarity? Well, it's because of this number right here, 1/3. Nearly 1/3 of all viewers watch coding tutorials on their mobile phones. That is a massive chunk of your audience trying to read your code on a tiny little 6-inch screen. To put that into perspective, it means your code text has to be huge and your windows should almost always be completely full screen. If you've got a bunch of tiny little windows floating around your desktop, you are basically alienating 1/3 of your learners right out of the gate.
Which brings us to Section 4, Recording without editing. Regaining your time.
Listen, if you have ever made a tutorial, you know that post-production can just completely drain the life out of you. But creator Dave Lee notes something brilliant. The best edit is the one you never have to make. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it forces a total mindset shift. Instead of relying on heavy post-production to save a messy recording, we're going to focus on smart, deliberate live recording techniques that literally eliminate the need for an editor altogether.
Our secret weapon for this is an app called TuringShot. You might know it by its old name, ZoomShot. It's a macOS application that gives you manual, system-level zooming just by hitting Ctrl+A and live screen drawing using Ctrl+X right while you're screen recording. So why is this so much better than those fancy AI auto-zooming tools? Because it gives you true pedagogical control. Let's go back to our big O notation example. You can manually zoom right into your VS Code environment, hit Ctrl+X, and literally draw those time versus data growth curves directly over your code while you're speaking. It feels completely natural, kind of like you're operating a camera live on set.
Let's break down Dave Lee's exact no-edit workflow. First, you open up your coding environment and start recording in OBS. Next, as you explain a concept, you use TuringShot to manually zoom into the specific block of code you're talking about. While you're zoomed in, you can draw circles, underline text, or drop in labels live while you're talking. Then, you simply zoom back out and keep going. Finally, when you're done with the whole shebang, you just run the file through a tool like Filmora to automatically chop out the silence gaps. This exact workflow took Dave's editing time from 45 minutes a chapter down to just 10 minutes. It is an absolute game changer for your productivity.
Let's move to our final segment, Section 5, The Power of Projects. 200 ideas to build your curriculum.
From our sources, we've got a massive list of 200 project ideas, but we've distilled it right down into this super simple, scalable matrix for you. If you're teaching beginners, you want to focus on projects like a weather dashboard or a personal portfolio. These are great for teaching basic APIs, HTML, CSS, and some introductory React. For your intermediate learners, step it up a notch with an e-commerce platform or a chat app to introduce WebSockets and Node.js. And for your advanced or expert students, this is where you teach those secret metrics that top-tier companies like Google and Netflix actually care about. Think AI image editors or Web3 platforms where you really have to consider scalability and big O notation. Remind your students that in today's world of big data and AI training sets, knowing which delivery method to use and how to handle data efficiently is literally the difference between landing a 3 LPA role and a 15 LPA role. This matrix basically gives you instant, scalable curriculum ideas for your next 10 tutorial series.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from managing cognitive load to mastering zero-edit workflows. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you keep grinding through hours of dead air editing, or will you use this playbook to start truly teaching? You've got the tools, you have the pedagogy, and you know exactly how to respect your viewers' time and their tiny mobile screens. It's time to get out there, hit record, and start making tutorials that actually make a difference. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.